So the underdog effect, right? So the underdog effect is usually described from a third person standpoint that states that people tend to support and root for those that have like are at a like perceived competitive disadvantage. These are like your less powerful teams. Like everybody's heard of rooting for the underdog, right? And I want to look at it through the lens of like kind of like a first person standpoint, being like, okay, being the underdog, like the advantage that you have, right? And with the high school cross country season coming to a close, many of us are entering that championship season, and I just want to acknowledge the fact that for most of us, 97% of us, we're not seeded to do anything like major at state, and I just wanted to highlight the fact that that gives you an advantage over the first seeded guy. I'm not saying that you're gonna go out and like go band for band with them, but I'm saying that you have nothing to lose at your state meet unless you're like top 10 seeded. You like nobody's checking for you. You're not the guys that articles are writing about on the mile split pages, like, you know, like unless you are actually top 10, you have an advantage over the guys that they're writing about, paying attention to. And that's the fact that nobody expects anything from you, you know. And the guys in the front have the hardest job because of the pressure and expectations. They have to go out and perform, and but that kind of perspective and way of thinking requires a new standpoint to be like, no, everybody around me might be faster than me. No, it's like everyone here is supposed to be faster than me. But things at state, if there's anywhere it'd be at state, do not always go to plan. You're at a hold or positive position. You can only go up from where you're seated. Like literally you can only go up from there. You go out, you have a bad day, so what? Okay, it's the state championship, but it's like, okay, no one was paying attention to what you were doing anyway. Like the guys that they're looking for are the guys at the front. They're paying attention to the front. So that's your opportunity to go do something that you wouldn't normally do. I'm very well aware that high school is made up of a bunch of different classes and of future D1, D2, and D3 athletes. Like, I'm not saying that, and truly, a lot of us will not ever do anything significant at our state meet ever. And does that mean that your state race does not matter? No, because I'm not saying you gotta, like I said, I'm not saying you have to go out 450 and go band for band with the first seeded, second seeded with that top pack. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just go do better than expected because there's no pressure. Nobody is checking for you. That's a good thing. And go make someone upset. Go do something that you wouldn't normally do. Wake up the morning of state and truly ask yourself, like, yo, why not me? Why don't I go do something crazy? Because like literally if I go and I run mid, nothing happens. The guys at the front, they go run mid, people are going to ask them what happened. You know, like they're going to ask what happened, what went wrong. The people will talk. You have an advantage being seated, like getting a seat at the table and having been given the opportunity to go and do something incredible. And that concept kind of is similar to our lives outside of our sport. Many of us will live, to be truthful, will live very average lives, and that's okay because that doesn't make anything that we're doing insignificant or that it doesn't matter. Even though we're more than likely to be forgotten, it won't matter to any of the other people that'll talk about us or whatever. But it's important. The only thing that's important is that it mattered to you. You know, that's your state race. That's your state performance. Those numbers on mile split will always stare back at you because they're going to tell you an individual story. If I go down and I look at a list, I might see, I see numbers, but I look at a time and I look at my name next to it and it starts speaking to me. It starts telling a story about my efforts and how I did that day. I have numbers that I look at that I'm like, damn, that was a good kick. You know, man, that was a good race. And I have numbers that I look at and I'm like, why did I let that happen? You know, why didn't I try harder? You know, like every single race, every single seed and result tells a story, you know. And so when you stare back at it, you know, tell a story and write a story that you'll want to reread and be proud of. Don't go out and write a story that you're gonna look back and be like, oh man, I really wish I did this different. I wish I did that different. It's always something to learn from, but go out and do your best the first time. Especially having made it to state. An accomplishment is that you were even a state qualifier in the first place. You know, like the fact that you were a state qualifier makes you significant. That's like, okay, that's an accomplishment in itself. So now it's like, okay, y'all done made it to state. Let's see what you can do. You know, like, dude, go out and do something great. You know, like every single, like, cause I'm not saying this from a standpoint of I'm going and I'm going to go do something crazy at state. I'm not saying that I've been a middle of the pack runner for the majority of my high school career, you know, but what I'm saying is take the opportunity of having no pressure on you and no expectations. Use that to your advantage and go do something that you'll be proud of later. You know, go do that. Like, if it's any time, this is my last cross country race, is that state meet. So I'm like, okay, why don't we go out and do that last kick? Start it early, wonder, and really just give everything out the tank. Like, it's genuinely a position where you're like, it's like you're already there. You've already made it. You can only, like, you're at the floor. You're at the floor seat. Like, you can only go up from there. You can only go up from where unless you like DNS. Like, you can only literally like look up and do better than because if you do bad, nobody's gonna like trip out. Because it's like, okay, that's state. You're competing with best guys in that state. At least you made it to state. So to have that grace, especially like, you know, just to have that grace from and knowing that like you are not the guy that the weight is falling on today, take advantage of that. I'm not saying go out with number 1 seed and drop a mile PR. I'm just saying that do something that you wouldn't normally, people would look and be like, yo, he's up there, you know, like go compete, you know, go race basically, because you have nothing to lose.